Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Big Dudes in the Trenches podcast. Hope you are all acting on your best behavior. And
I am acting. Don't make me tell you if it's on my best behavior or not.
But he is acting, so he's not actually angry or happy right now.
Correct.
Bug is on his best behavior. I appreciate that. I guess, Tug, it's time for you to turn your back on Mother Nature. Because, as Tears for Fears did tell us, everybody wants to rule the world.
What the fuck are we talking about?
I don't know.
Some lyrics to a song. That's all that was. Nothing more, nothing less.
All I know is we got 87 games to talk about, so let's just get straight into it.
Is it actually 87? It might
be.
It
is 87. It is 43 from last week and 44 from last week and 43 from this week.
That's pretty good. I like that a lot. That's
why you come here and not to ESPN, because otherwise you'd hear us talk about 15 games last week and 15 games from this week.
And they would all be SEC matchups and like 2 Big Ten games and 3 ACC games, and that'd be it.
Maybe and Colorado. the one Big Ten game is guaranteed to contain either Ohio State or Michigan, and that's it.
Yes. Right. Maybe USC. Or Oregon.
Only if they're playing Ohio State or Michigan.
That's why we pick whatever games I feel like picking, because I go off the rails. And to keep us on the rails, we do keep score when we pick these games.
That's about the only thing keeping us on the rail.
The only other rule that really applies this season is if any one of us actually goes to a game in person, we have to pick that game. Which means next week we're going to be ramping up a little bit.
Nice.
Here are the standings. I know, Tug, you made a mention last week of wanting to see some percentages. So I gave us our batting averages.
I don't think I did, but I like it. I appreciate it.
You did.
4 significant digits, huh?
Yeah, batting average, man.
That's straight up. Batting averages are only to 3, sir.
Fine.
Unless you're batting 1,000.
Yeah.
Well,
even batting 1,000 is only going to 3 decimals, though.
Facts.
Either way.
Something uses 4. And
look, man,
it
sig figs always confuse me. Let's not get into it. Let's just get into the games.
You're over 2/3 though, so feel good about yourself.
I do.
Or you're almost 2/3. You're close enough.
He's over.
Well, it'd be 6, whatever.
6, 6, 6, 7 in this case.
Yeah,
6, 6, 6. Repeating, of course.
Yes. We will see how you did, though, because last week we picked a whole bunch of games, starting with both of the Friday night matches, Virginia Tech at Miami. Holy smokes, did y'all see this one? Virginia Tech should have won.
It should not have been this close. I know that much.
It really should not have been this close. I know there's a huge controversy about the last play there. The ACC even had to come out and make a ruling and basically explain the rule, which if you're using an obscure rule, the rule should be pretty easy to understand at this point.
I mean, but if it's in the rule book, even if it's obscure,
I know. No. I get it.
Rules of the game.
I get it. I just wish they clarified it more.
Don't we all? That'd be great. Nothing's meant to be clear. It's meant to be up to interpretation so the ACC can have the best possible outcome for their own conference. That's what we learned. This is Disney's manipulation on our sacred game.
I mean,
but also, anyway, Virginia Tech should have won that game because it was called a touchdown on the field. And it took them like 16 minutes to review that. Hail Mary.
I mean, if we want to talk should have won a game, Washington's kicker needs to be fired.
Washington outgained Rutgers basically 2-1 all game, but then had a couple of turnovers.
Forgot how to kick.
A couple of really bad penalties, including there was a Rutgers lined up for a field goal, missed the field goal. Actually, it got blocked. Then they had somebody from the bench run out onto the field celebrating, technically before the whistle was blown. So Rutgers got 15 yards and got to score a touchdown on that drive instead of kicking that field goal that got blocked. Washington did everything wrong and only lost by 4 points. So good effort to the Huskies, but the Scarlet Knight fever is raging.
See,
That
you
makes me
talked
so
about
sad.
everything Washington's people did wrong. You didn't highlight that the one dude on the team that is not a person missed what, 5 field goals?
It wasn't that many.
You
It
sure about
wasn't
that?
a good game for him.
I remember following this in the chat, but hold on.
I turned it on a little bit late. I'll admit I only saw 3 missed field goals, which, like, yeah, that's not great.
Not great, Doug. He's on scholarship.
Not for long.
Right. Yeah. But very good start for me. Scarlet Knights are 4-0. One of 2 surprising upstarts in the Big Ten so far this season. Surprising if you are an ESPN lover and only pay attention to the national media, because they don't
You
believe in
say
Greg
that,
Schiano.
but they shouldn't have won this game.
Okay.
They missed 3 field goals, so you're right, not quite 5.
Thank you.
But if he hits, I will give college kickers 1 miss. That's a valid expectation going into every game. Even if he hit
Depends
the other
on the
2,
distance.
even if he hit from the other 2, they win this game.
Yeah, but they didn't.
But they
And
didn't.
Rutgers wins and is undefeated.
Fuck you. I'm tired of this slide.
Next up, Oklahoma State at Kansas State. I just want to ask the question. Well, I guess I have 2 questions. Number 1, where did Oklahoma State's running game go? Because they're supposed to have one of the best running backs in the game, and all 5 of their offensive linemen returned from last season. Why are they unable to run the ball ever? And then 2, who in the world is possibly winning the Big 12? It feels like there's a different team every single
I mean,
hour on Saturday that we feel like could be in line.
I don't want to jump the gun too much on this, but I think at this point it's either got to be Kansas State or the team that won the next game that we picked. I don't know what the fuck's going on with Oklahoma State, but it's bad. They got to figure it out.
Honestly, the issue with Oklahoma State right now is everyone knows they have a good run game and their pass game is probably mediocre at best. So they're banking on the run. They're effectively a one-dimension offense right now, and that's easy to defend. But man, who's winning the Big 12? Flip a coin, but flip a coin every week for 2 different teams, and you might get it by the time you reach the championship game.
I feel like the answer is to roll a 10-sided die.
How many teams are in the Big 12?
16.
All right, we'll kick it up to 20 and give some of the better teams 2 chances.
BYU, speaking of that next matchup, BYU did beat Baylor in a closer game than the spread would have indicated, and also Baylor had every chance to win this, but BYU is 5-0 in another unexpected undefeated team at this point.
BYU is sneaky this year.
This certainly was a lot closer, especially than I expected. BYU's defense still, though, is the backbone of this team, and that's really, I think, what's going to be their strength and carry them far, especially in a Big 12 conference not known for having good defenses.
And then the third of 3 that we've talked about so far, surprise undefeated, Indiana wins against Maryland in a game that was the sloppiest Indiana has played so far this season.
And they still put up 42 points. Yeah.
Indiana is the highest scoring team in the Big Ten so far, surpassing, the great passing offense that Ohio State usually has. People talk about Drew Aller and how much he's improved. They don't hold a candle to what Indiana is doing offensively so far this season. Kind of crazy. Really keeping it pretty simple, too. Nothing too complex out there. They just have a 6-year quarterback.
Is Indiana a football school now?
Yeah.
We're getting to that point in the season where we start making these declarations.
I mean, they haven't really been a basketball school in a long time. People just
Yeah, so
associate them with basketball. So it is
They
what it
haven't
is.
really been in anything school in quite a while.
I'll say
this
that.
But,
this is a good slide.
Just makes me sad.
It was very nearly not a good slide,
It
as
was
Western Kentucky should have won that game, but Boston
Yes.
College pulls it out at the end, 21-20. Boston College wins at home against the Hilltoppers. Is Western Kentucky better than we thought? Maybe. Is Boston College worse than we thought? Maybe. Is our measuring stick still a Florida State team that is way worse than we thought? I think
Yes.
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 Absolutely.
Absolutely.
I hate to say this because Boston College does have one loss, granted, to a ranked team this year. They really haven't played anybody, but they are 2 or 3-0 in the ACC. Or are we looking at contenders, or are we full blown pretenders here?
100%
mean,
pretenders.
I wouldn't go contenders at this point. It
I mean, the
definitely feels like
ACC
we're in a 2-team league.
I was gonna say the ACC seems like a 2-team race, boat racing everybody else.
We'll see if Louisville can catch up, or Pitt, I guess. I don't know.
That's the team you decide to throw out there.
Yeah, somebody else maybe can catch up, but it's Miami and Clemson's to lose for sure. Speaking of the ACC, though, NC State keeping it interesting, beating the team that beat Notre Dame. It was a touchdown game at home. This did not look good for NC State. They just haven't had it this season. I don't know what's going on with them.
I was gonna say, what game has looked good for them this season?
I think one of their first couple games of the year. I will say maybe NC State isn't as bad. Maybe we need to give NIU a little more credit, even though I don't want to. I am curious to see what NC State's going to do once they really get into ACC play, where they're going to fall in line with the rest of the conference here.
Will be fascinating, especially if we get to Tobacco Road, where we have one of those other very surprising undefeated teams we'll get to later. USF at Tulane, very surprising to me how South Florida can come out and keep it competitive with Alabama, and then keep it competitive with Miami, and then just not against Tulane.
They are the kryptonite of the Power 5.
I think we learned two things from this. One, USF is not as good as we were expecting them to be this year. And two, Tulane is a lot better than we were expecting them to be this year. And surely that was evident earlier in the season as well. I will say Pullman seems like it's a pretty tough place to play. Obviously talking about that Kansas State game here. So maybe that's more the home field advantage versus how good they were. But Tulane's really starting to show that they haven't lost as much as maybe we thought they did.
And John Summerall is a very good coach.
Yeah.
Look at how much Troy's fallen off without him, and look how good Tulane is so far.
Absolutely.
Next up for us, a double overtime shot in the dark for me. Pulled Bucknell out of nowhere. Very exciting.
It's a toss-up game. I mean, it went to 2 OT. Like, there's not much more you can say about it.
I can say that I finally used Bucknell's logo on a slide, and it worked. Yep. I'm very excited. This was awesome.
I'm going to let you have your moment, but what the hell is going on in the Ivy League?
Yeah, I think there has been some new legislation passed in Rhode Island making it legal for Brown to win football games.
Is it just Brown or is it all Rhode Island colleges? Because URI's having a quietly good season too.
Yeah, but Bryant sucks. So,
look, everybody in Rhode Island forgets Bryant's a school, okay?
My point exactly.
I'm just amazed that there's enough room in that state for there to be 3 universities.
Well, they can't all play home games at the same time. So
that's 4 Division I schools, sir.
Yeah, I was saying, though, there's not enough room for all of them to play home games at the same time, as evidenced by every week this season. If 2 of them are playing in the state of Rhode Island, they're playing each other.
That's just funny.
So it's basically a home game.
Yeah, it really is.
And then hop on down to the Pioneer League, San Diego at Drake, a game that I said was going to be very interesting, very close, but that trip to Iowa should prove difficult for a rebuilding San Diego team. Worked out a lot like I said, 30-28 though. Drake wins a close one. They stay on top of the Pioneer for now, but man, Butler is breathing down their necks in a big way. That Pioneer race is shaping up to be very fascinating.
Bulldogs don't like it when anybody's breathing down their neck. Just throwing that one out there.
But there is a new sheriff in town in the Ivy League, and it is Brown.
What can Brown do for you? Apparently win football games.
Win football games, yeah.
Hey, Mercer is the last undefeated team in the state of Georgia after they knocked off Wofford.
I mean, it's not to that point in the year yet where Mercer's going to fall apart. Give it another couple weeks, and then maybe we'll be having a different conversation.
Yeah,
I just want to shout out how incredible this defense has been so far. As great as everybody talks about how good Georgia's defense is supposed to be, Mercer is the one whose defense is outscoring other opponents' offenses on the regular now.
good for them.
Would that work in the SEC? Maybe.
Maybe.
We haven't tried it.
Against Mississippi State, almost definitely.
That game would be 78-0 Mercer. Book it.
All defensive points, by the way.
And then Robert Morris headed down to Eastern Kentucky. I didn't pick this game because I thought it was going to be great. I picked it because I don't trust Eastern Kentucky yet. I'm glad they proved me kind of right in that I did pick them to win. But wow, this Eastern Kentucky team looks a lot better than I thought they were. And have for the last 2 weeks.
Is Robert Morris a real good measuring stick for them at this point?
Probably not, and probably neither is West Georgia. But those are the opponents they have in the UAC, right? Who else in the UAC is really that scary? I mean, you'd say Central Arkansas for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Abilene Christian is up there this year. Maybe Southern Utah and Eastern Kentucky are in that same tier right there, along with Tarleton State as kind of that next in line if it's not UCA or ACU.
I will say this.
Think about it.
It's Eastern Kentucky or UCA from what I've seen this year. I think you're giving the rest of the conference a little too much credit there. I really do think it's a 2-team race. It's going to come down to who can compete at this level longer.
I mean, I feel like that's giving Eastern Kentucky too much credit, but I've been saying that for a little while now, ever since I trusted them too hard 2 years ago. So, Southern Illinois at South Dakota. Yeah, this is a Dakota school.
The Salukis have an issue.
I'll turn this one turn this one off at halftime. I was pretty critical last week and said, maybe they need to look at a coaching change here because the finishing thing is an issue. But I think more than I thought last week, it's really just it's a rebuilding year for SIU. I don't want to completely just backtrack on this. We did talk about it earlier in the year, maybe or during the preview show. Maybe people were seeing something we weren't, and that's why SIU was ranked as high as they were to start the season. I think this is more realistically just where the team is. They had a transfer quarterback come in. He was run the offense effectively, and it's not like the backup's been doing awful. There's just a lot of pieces missing, and the team isn't fully cohesive and at the top level right now. It sucks to see because you would hope if they get a good ranking like that maybe there is something we're missing, but it doesn't seem to be the case. SIU's probably not making the playoff this year, which is unfortunate, but that South Dakota team looks pretty damn unstoppable in that dome.
Yeah, I went against the Dakota. That's on me.
It is.
I thought we were looking at I thought we were looking at a get right game, and that just was not a get right game.
Let's go Yotes. Sanford at Furman was postponed due to the hurricane. It in theory, will be rescheduled for some point this season. There has been no further announcement about that at this point. We will be on the lookout for that. The next game on our list, though, Texas State fell apart in that fourth quarter against Sam Houston. Oh
Sam
my
Houston has an
gosh.
offense. They can put up 40 points.
They can, and they did.
They did. I don't know if they have an offense. Like, I don't know if that's a great assessment of this. That second half was insane. Like I said, the fourth quarter, they really only put up 6 points in the fourth quarter. It felt like Texas State was still in it until then. Like they still had fight in them.
Yep.
And then it vanished
No,
from the fourth quarter. They were up 39, 33, and then or 30, 39, 34, and then just stopped playing. It was the craziest thing I've seen.
It's like LSU.
Yeah. You can't do that. Maybe this game is the reason that Mountain West stopped negotiations with Texas State. But maybe.
I
One can
now
dream.
understand your background photo, and I'm thoroughly enjoying it. North Dakota State is doing North Dakota State things.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Illinois State's also really fucking bad.
Yeah.
Okay, North Dakota State's doing North Dakota State things, and Illinois State's doing Illinois State things. Like, I don't know what else we want.
Here's my thing, though. I was like really close to picking Illinois State in this game. I'm
You're insane.
Very glad that I did not do that.
I am really disappointed you did not do that.
Right. It would have been great for you. Also, you do not understand my background picture. That is just straight up me being weird. That's all that is.
All right, fair enough.
Because that's Sam Houston.
Then we got Sam Houston, the first president of Texas. Yeah.
Oh, I like this slide.
Much better slide.
I'm okay with it. I took a risk here, and it turned out better than I thought it would.
It did, definitely. NC Central against Norfolk State. Not very close game. Honestly, I didn't expect that it would be. I just thought it was fascinating. They're having an HBCU showcase in Indianapolis, which apparently has been going on for 40 years.
And nobody knew about it.
So that's pretty cool. NC Central won, as they should have. Yep. Youngstown State at Missouri State. A lot closer than I anticipated it would be. I knew Youngstown State had a chance. I never want to count Youngstown State out of almost any game unless they're playing the Dakotas, because it's the Dakotas.
The only games you don't count the Dakotas out, or really,
if they're playing
each
the
other.
other Dakotas.
Yeah, that's
right. But yeah, it ended up being a touchdown game. Missouri State does win at home against the Penguins.
Much better game than I thought it would be. I took a risk. It almost paid off. It did not.
Is this next one Notre Dame, Louisville? Notre Dame winning 31-24. Is this more an indictment on Louisville or an indication that Notre Dame's slip up against NIU was just that, a slip up?
If you watch this game, you would know it's very much an indictment of Louisville. They look so bad. And it was still 31-24. Like, amazingly, they didn't get beat by 40 the way they were playing that first half. So I'm not convinced that Notre Dame's issues are solved. At the same time, I'm not convinced that Louisville is a top 25 team. Moving right along. Arkansas at Texas A&M.
Hey, the Pigs almost had it.
They had chances. They definitely had chances to get this one done. It was last time this game's going to be played in Jerry World, where Texas A&M has won all but one of those games, I think, is what the stat line said. Great showing from Arkansas, just unable to get this game finished at the end.
And then what in the world happened? Colorado at UCF. Are you kidding me? Where did this come from?
I think we need to start having a more legitimate conversation about Travis Hunter and the Heisman Trophy.
I'm fine with
at the end of the year.
I'm perfectly okay with that. What that does not say, though, is that Colorado should be winning games like this against teams that we suspected were quality opponents, because this is a UCF team that went in favored by like 17 points.
Yep. I think the biggest thing, and we shat on Shedeur Sanders after that loss to Nebraska. But I think more than anything, that really woke him up and be like, hey, we shouldn't be losing games like this. We shouldn't have lost that game, and they shouldn't have. And we got guys on the team that are going to be very vocal about exactly how they feel. Let's not fucking let that happen again.
The only thing I will say for that is it didn't work the way I think he expected it to. His offensive line still is not blocking for him. He's just now making more plays on his own, specifically to Travis Hunter. He's getting out of the pocket, making those plays. He's still under pressure quite a bit in these Colorado games.
Well, one of the other things that they fixed in this game specifically, they started running a tight end set more often.
Yeah.
Just at least widening the offensive line a little bit and putting that tight end on like a block release. So it helped. It still feels like it's not enough. This offensive line has some real issues, which would prevent it from going far in the playoffs, say, if they were to win the Big 12, which apparently is possible because everybody in the Big 12 is capable of winning the Big 12.
Did they come up on the coin flip this week?
No.
Wow. Then they still have a chance.
Exactly. And then Liberty at App State was canceled. I was very much looking forward to this game. One of the kind of two of the bigger name brands in the group of 6, I guess, now over the past couple of years. So
no, it's the group of 5, and then you've got the semi-independents and the independents, because there's more independents than there are Pac-12 teams.
Not for long.
Not for long.
Speaking of Pac-12 teams, Fresno State looked awful against a backup quarterback because Matthew Sluka decided to leave the program, and Haj Malik Williams came in and dominated. Now, if you don't know Haj Malik Williams, he is former Campbell's quarterback, holds a bunch of records for Campbell, and I was shocked when he transferred to UNLV because Matthew Sluka was already there. But man, it doesn't look good right now.
I believe I saw multiple people say they were starting the wrong quarterback by starting Sluka after how this offense looked and the performance they put up against Fresno State this week.
I think this is more of a testament to the coaching staff of making sure your next one up is ready to go.
Man, don't you wish the NFL?
Oh,
teams did
don't
that?
don't even. Oh, it's still frustrating. But yes, I do. But no, that's, I mean, you step into your backup quarterback, you don't miss a beat. It did not feel like any of the playbook was shortened, which is what you want to see. This is textbook how you coach up second man up mentality.
If anything, the playbook was expanded. They were throwing the balls they wouldn't have thrown to Sluka. It was kind of crazy. And then modern day hate did not go the way we thought it would. I had a very sinking feeling that I should have gone with Southern when we all picked Georgia State and when Georgia State was favored, because it's a rivalry game and they do legitimately dislike each other to the point where the underdog can win by 17 points. And it kind of makes sense.
Unfortunately for us.
Yeah.
This next one, though, what the fuck's going on with North Carolina? And maybe a better question, what the fuck's going on with Duke?
Right.
Nobody knows.
Tobacco Road got weird.
Tobacco Road always gets weird. It's actual hatred between these schools. Like there's no, everyone even forgets that Wake Forest is part of Tobacco Road. They are. But these are the two schools everyone cares about. These are the two schools that legitimately hate each other, typically in basketball.
NC State fans would kill you for saying that. So, which kind of proves the point.
Yeah, okay,
that
fair.
Tobacco Road's brutal.
I was even thinking that as I was looking at you, I was like, is it Wake Forest or NC State? And I was just rolling with it.
Even though this is Tobacco Road, this is the victory bell too. I mean, this is this was a double rivalry matchup. So maybe we shouldn't be that surprised, but I don't think any of us saw this game going like this.
I'm just shocked at just how lost Mac Brown looks and how much he needs to retire.
He had a good run. He gave the NFL a couple real shitty quarterbacks. So, good on him for that.
Love that.
He can go fuck himself. Still, just a 1-point win after how North Carolina got absolutely fucking bodied last week. That's just insane.
But Duke is 5-0, and this is we
that's
lost
the shocking part here. That's the shocking part here. God,
this is what I think of every time I hear modern day hate. By the way,
fair.
It's the fact that we lost modern day hate. Just
we can skip this slide.
No, we cannot.
No, we
because
can't.
First of all, East Carolina beat UTSA at home. Let's go Pirates. Northern Arizona upset Sacramento State.
They're too busy worrying. They're too busy courting the Pac-2 and the Mountain West to see where they're gonna go.
The same week the Sac-12 committee raised $35 million. They lost to Northern Arizona.
Fucking Northern Arizona.
And then UT Martin.
All right, Doug, go off, buddy. It's all you.
Kennesaw State can shove it. That's all.
Why did we go back?
I went the wrong way.
Y'all got triple skunked. I picked UT Martin. Let's go.
There we go.
Another one of my gambles that did not pay off, and very much did not pay off.
All.
Yeah.
We'll get there, though. Calm down.
William & Mary over Hampton by this margin is surprising. Just because I didn't have as much confidence in William & Mary as apparently I should have. I guess W&M is going to be a playoff team. That's what this is starting to look like to me.
North Texas thumping Tulsa like this, though, kind of makes sense in that we knew Tulsa was going to be this bad. I am surprised that North Texas is stacking up this well against conference opponents already.
Man, it's they either go off or they just don't show up. That's North Texas the past 4 seasons.
Yeah, honestly, though.
It's fair.
And then one of those United Athletic Conference teams, one of the UAC teams, UCA, terrible sentence I was about to throw out there, did perform as expected. Lamar was off to a hot start. Wanted to keep track of that story. But yeah, Central Arkansas is the better squad for sure. And on that fugly-ass field,
I love it.
UCA was going to win for sure. Did y'all see the quarterback punt in this one, by the way?
Yes.
No. Quarterback punted the ball like 60 yards down to like the 3-yard line. It was insane.
That was a great punt.
Good shit.
It was a great punt.
This is what happens when you put real people out there kicking punts. One of the greatest games of all time.
One of the greatest second halves. One of the greatest second halves. Not one of the greatest games, one of the greatest second halves.
One of the greatest last 2 minutes. Well, 4 minutes.
One of the greatest games of all time. Georgia at Alabama. Alabama started off very hot. And then Georgia decided, that's enough of that. I'll be having some of those touchdowns, please. And decided to come all the way back, take the lead, before Alabama said, actually, I would prefer to win.
One play, yeah.
On the next fucking play. Surrender Cobras were out, and then the Surrender Cobras were gone. It was the very fast and depressing turnaround if you pick Georgia.
Surrender Cobras.
I actually do want to go on a little rant here, if you'll allow it, because
I'll allow it.
I've been hearing that Georgia is probably still the better team. I've been hearing that.
What metric?
Oh, what the fuck? It was supposed to go to you. There we go.
Okay. I've been hearing that if this game were played 3 more times, 4 more times, Georgia would probably win a couple of those. More often than not, Georgia would be winning this game. Playing on a neutral site, Georgia would win. I don't care. Legitimately, does not matter. Because that's not what this sport is, actually. There's a reason that games are not played on paper. Those games are played on the field. You can ask, I don't know, the Toronto Maple Leafs if they were a better team than the Columbus Blue Jackets in the first round. It didn't matter. The Blue Jackets still beat the shit out of them for no good reason. Because when it came down to it, puck on the ice for 40 minutes, that was the better team. When the Cavaliers
60
went
minutes.
to Golden State, who cares? It's hockey. Nobody watches it. When the Cavaliers went down to Golden State, 73-win Golden State, it didn't matter that they had broken the regular season win record. The Cavaliers were the better team for 48 minutes on the court in Game 7, and they won the dang game.
When
Go
the Cubs
look-
dropped 3 games
Nobody
to
asked
1.
Nobody asked you. Go look at the last 10 times Alabama and Georgia have met on the football field. Alabama's won 9 out of 10. One of those was in the national championship. Georgia won.
3 of them have been in the
themselves
SEC
an Natty.
championship game.
Congratulations. Alabama won the other title they played in those last 10 matchups. Alabama also won every SEC championship that those teams have met up in the last 10 games that they've played. Alabama's the better team on the field 9 times out of 10, apparently, because those are the actual results. And so before anybody tries telling me that Georgia's the better team, Alabama beats their asses regularly, consistently. What I don't know why. It just is what it is. And you know what's even weirder? 4 out of those last 10 games, Alabama has scored exactly 41 points.
Can I make
That
one
is the
additional
stat
point?
to end that rant on for sure.
Can I make one additional point to kind of
No.
no,
We're moving
listen. No, listen. I don't
It's
want to
going to be
hear
about Cubs again. I
No.
swear I'm going to.
No, I don't want to hear any arguments about Georgia playing at a neutral site until they actually play at a neutral site.
Well, the one time that they beat Alabama in the last 10 was the national championship that was played in Indianapolis. So I'll give them that.
So they did
One
play at a
good-
neutral site.
Yeah,
Suck
They had
it,
one
Doug.
good time.
But every other one is at Georgia's home, so you can't argue Georgia home. And yes, I consider Atlanta Georgia's home field, even though, yes, I know technically it's Georgia Tech in Atlanta.
And
And
Georgia,
Georgia
State.
State.
And
Jinx.
Kansas State.
That little brother. That only
There's
counts in
another
Michigan
school.
State,
There's
Michigan.
another school in Georgia State.
Kansas
in
State's
Atlanta,
right
too.
there.
I think there's a third one in Atlanta. Anyway, Illinois, Penn State. James Franklin called for a wideout, and the fans showed up for a wideout, and Illinois kept this game close the entire way. I know they lost by 2 touchdowns. It was a pick 6 at the end of the game. They had a chance to tie it up. Illinois is a very good football team, and they fell out of the top 25, didn't they?
Yeah.
That is unfortunate. There were 19 going into this game. I guess it makes sense that they fall out, but they certainly,
did.
in my mind, didn't deserve to fall out. I didn't.
Can Penn State just get rid of the whiteout? Like, it looks cool and all, but they just never play well with it.
No, they're number 24.
Oh, they are
No,
24.
actually.
Well, there you go. So I take back what I said. They deserve to still be in the top 25. They're a very good football
Yeah.
team. I'm curious to see what they're going to do the rest of the year. I'm also curious to see what Penn State's going to do the rest of the year, because if Illinois is now their measuring stick, and I think that's fair to say, both teams have a very good shot of competing in the Big Ten come the end of the season.
Is Penn State's schedule favorable to them this year, i.e., no Michigan State or no Ohio State, or no Michigan or Ohio State?
Playing Michigan would be favorable for them this year.
Yes. They are at USC, at Wisconsin, home for Ohio State, home for Washington.
Please
and
tell me the
kind
Ohio
of a
State
rough
game is a
4-game
whiteout.
trip.
Please tell me the Ohio State game is their planned whiteout. I usually is for some reason, and it never works out for them, and I thoroughly enjoy that.
They haven't announced that yet, but next week against UCLA is at noon, so that will not be a whiteout. I know. We'll see.
And then next up, Memphis had a get-right game, if you want to call it that.
It was.
You can call it that, but Seth Henneken didn't get right.
Yeah. And that's something I've noticed pretty much all year is he just has not looked the same. This is not the quarterback that finished last season. His strength has always been that he doesn't do dumb shit with the football, and he's still doing that. He's, by and large, being very careful with the football, but he's not looked crisp. The offense certainly is not running as efficiently as it could. For a team that's been so heavily reliant on the pass, the run game seems to be the strength of the team this year, and that's not an issue, except for the fact that with as many returning receivers and a fourth-year starting quarterback, you would expect that to be the strength of this team. Now, credit to Seth, he did not get him passing touchdown this game, the first time in his college football career, meaning that he tied Marcus Mariota's 42-game streak and did not surpass it.
Brutal.
But he doesn't care. They won the game. That's what's important at the end of the day.
Do you say congrats to him for something he did the previous week and then could not build upon this week?
Yeah, he did.
So 42 straight games. That means he would have had to tie Mariota last week. He could not accomplish breaking the record this week.
Yeah.
Okay.
The streak's over, so congrats. It's finally over. You tied him. That's where it ends.
Okay. I wasn't sure what we were congratulating for there. It was.
Hey, congrats to Tug for having a rival in Wyoming. That's next up.
Fucking. All right. Can I make one point? There was one thing I had said that was one of the reasons I was going with Air Force. And it ended up being completely wrong because I hate Troy Calhoun. I thought they were moving on to their backup quarterback who runs this offense much better. No, we still went with John Boucher.
Turns out Wyoming beat y'all by 2 scores. Wild.
Wyoming.
I know you do.
In 0-4 Wyoming.
Laugh.
An 0-4 Wyoming team that lost to Idaho, and we still cannot do anything offensively. Like that's the issue with Air Force this year is the offense cannot do anything.
It's pretty tough. 31-19, Wyoming wins in Laramie for their first win of the season and their first Mountain West win. Wyoming's come for that title. Watch out, Boise State. Speaking of conference wins, SMU is the only team in ACC history to be a perfect 1,000 in conference record. Florida State is definitely not.
Nope.
42-16. The Mustangs beat the shit out of Florida State, which is hilarious especially when you consider the SMU is doing this for free. They're not getting any revenue from the ACC to be a part of this. And Florida State sued the ACC saying that they're too good for SMU to be part of this conference. This shouldn't be allowed.
Did DJ finally get benched? I thought I saw that, but I honestly
broke
didn't
a
care
finger,
enough.
and he will not be playing.
Maybe FSU will finally start winning games.
The best part is that finger's actually on his non-throwing hand, but Mike Norvell jumped on and said, "Nah, man, you need to sit."
I think what actually happened is Mike Norvell broke a finger off in his ass.
I'm just saying, Quinn Ewers has one more year of eligibility, doesn't he?
Yeah. You want him to transfer to Florida State?
I think Florida State wants him to transfer to Florida State at this point.
Quinn Ewers is going to be a relatively high draft pick.
Not if Arch Manning keeps getting those starts.
Yeah, Quinn Ewers will be back for the Red River game, so just hold your horses.
They haven't announced who's starting that game yet.
And it's Quinn Ewers.
Okay.
We're getting excited there, Doug.
Quit blowing your Manning load.
I do find it funny that Arch Manning wanted to not go to the SEC to only end up going to the SEC.
Right.
It was written in the contract that the original Arch Manning made with the devil that all his descendants will play in the SEC.
Cincinnati at Texas Tech. Texas Tech pulls this off with a last-second time expiring missed field goal by Cincinnati. Very exciting Big 12 game.
College kickers are tough, man.
44-41. The Red Raiders are mid. That's what we have learned.
But mid's good enough for right now.
New Mexico won a game. Congratulations to the Lobos.
Finally.
The entire state of New Mexico is making its case for the Big 12.
That would be incredible.
No defense need apply.
New Mexico legitimately, they're a fun team. We've been saying it all year. They're a fun team.
Mm-hmm.
I am very excited to see how the rest of the season goes for them. And I've actually been playing as New Mexico on College Football 25.
Oh, you found time to play. I still haven't, and I'm sorry.
Go check out my latest YouTube video. I did weeks 1 and 2 offline, but I did week 3 online against Auburn. So you should check it out, see how it went for us. I got a couple weeks to prep for this, this New Mexico State matchup, and obviously another opponent in between now and then as well. But hopefully I can replicate what the Lobos did against the Aggies here.
Well, maybe some better defense.
No, 50-40 is perfect. Absolutely perfect for this matchup. McNeese at Weber State. What a game here. McNeese does pull this one out 28-26. Weber State was coming back in a big way. This was an awesome game to watch. If y'all figured out how to do that. Maybe not. Maybe. I watched it. It was awesome. It's fun. But then Boise State mollywopped Washington State in Idaho. You were talking about Travis Hunter for the Heisman. What about Ashton Jeanty?
Yeah, that's it's the first time we're seeing non-quarterbacks this high up in the Heisman rankings this early in the season, and seeing a running back in there is almost more exciting than seeing a two-way player in there.
26 carries for 259 yards and another 4 scores.
Yeah,
Doug, I think we said it after. I think we said it after week 1, that if he kept putting up those numbers of 4, 5, 6 touchdowns per game, he needs to be in that conversation. He is Boise State at this point.
He is also on pace, literally on pace, to break Barry Sanders' rushing yards record in a single season. That is wild. I didn't think that was possible. That is also considering he only played like a quarter and a half against Portland State and put up 117 yards against their weakest opponent. He's doing it against their best opponents so far, and needs to keep doing that for Boise State to win. But here's the thing. He just keeps doing it somehow.
Are we? So it's no secret. I'm going to ask this question. It's no secret that running backs have lost value in the NFL over the past, call it, decade. Are we looking at another potential top 10 running back for the first time in years? He's a junior this year, so he's eligible.
You say the first time in years. I mean, we had Bijan Robinson.
Did he go top 10?
Yeah. He was number 8.
Yeah, fair enough.
Saquon Barkley was a number.
Saquon was the last one I was probably thinking of as a top 10 running back.
And then before then it would have been Zeke Elliott was number 4 overall pick.
Yep.
Yeah, Ashton Jeanty could definitely go in the top 10. Why not? He's awesome.
Yeah.
It's not like there are going to be enough quarterbacks up there. Golly.
Oh,
and then
sadness.
Yeah, UC Davis pulls off the upset over Idaho. One of those great stories we've been following. Idaho had looked phenomenal at certain points so far, but UC Davis put the clamps on them. Very impressive. UC Davis legit this year, finally?
No.
All right.
Only a 2-point win.
Utah did not have Cam Rising because when do they ever have Cam Rising? Arizona pulls this one off at Rice Eccles, 23-10.
Remember when he was rumored to start week 1 last year?
Yeah.
Cam Rising's the best player that's never played a game of college football. It's crazy.
He's played like 2 games and they were awesome. And so everybody's like, hey, we need to come back.
Well, he does need to come back. That would greatly help everybody.
Yeah.
Dude's going to be older than fucking Brady White playing college football because he gets hurt so fucking much.
Then we can finally stop with making fun of Brady White.
No. I just can't wait for the Dolphins to draft him in the second round.
I'm still hoping Cam Ward in the first. Give me a backup
Cam
quarterback
Rising in the second.
Give me Cam Ward in the first to back up Tua for a couple of years until he actually dies on the field because he's going to keep playing. And we're in business.
And then Oregon at UCLA, the first Big Ten matchup of the Oregon Ducks season. Hey, they're starting off Big Ten play hot. 34-13.
The Big Ten's just different, man.
Built different.
Almost like a new style play they'd never seen before down there in LA.
It's crazy, man.
Not like we played these guys last year.
But we got skunked by UC Davis. They gave us the old pop shove it. We did have a tie for second place this week.
Oh my God, you got the animations right.
I did it. I figured it out.
Yay.
25-17. Not as good as it has been for you guys. Still pretty decent. You'll take it. But big oof compared
Breaker
to my
of chains.
33-9. I'm finally free. The curse has been lifted.
The curse has been more than lifted because that catapults you in the first fucking place.
Let's go.
We're still all well within range of each other for nobody to be safe.
He went from 4 games behind me to 4 games ahead of me.
Yeah, and we're picking another 40 games.
Let's go. That's what this season's all about, baby. So Sam Houston and Texas State played within 1 point of each other, which means we're picking both Texas State and Sam Houston to win their games on Thursday.
Well, they're both playing shitty fucking teams, Troy and UTEP. It doesn't matter who's playing who. Texas State and Sam Houston are winning those games.
I can't tell you how much this slide just fucked with me, and I thought it was the wrong slide because I was like, we just had this. Like, I'm caught up now. We're good, but this definitely took some more brain power. I was willing to commit to it.
These are the games coming up now. This is tomorrow night. Texas State at Troy, Sam Houston at UTEP. UTEP just announced they will be leaving Conference USA for the Mountain West in 2026, raising their annual television contract payout from about $400,000 per year to about $4 million per year. The Mountain West
makes sense.
It just means more out there in the Mountain West. But Texas State turned that down, which means Fun Belt money must be for real. Friday night, we got a couple of heaters. New Hampshire at Harvard. Not sure what to make of Harvard just yet, but also not really sure what to make of New Hampshire. Without Max Brosmer, this offense has looked a lot different up there, for sure.
I'm curious because while Harvard has shown me I should not trust them this year, historically UNH has showed me I cannot trust them ever. So, Bug, what are you seeing out of UNH that in the Wildcats there that you're picking them?
One, they are 3-1 on the season. And while they haven't really played anybody, Stonehill and Bryant, they did play Holy Cross on the road and win that game 21-20. We're not going to talk about the UCF game. I didn't expect them to do anything good in that to begin with. Right. But the showing that they've had compared to the showing that Harvard's had, I'd much rather put my faith in a team that's looked good versus a team that just lost to fucking Brown.
But Seth Morgan's slinging the rock all around. If Harvard's defense shows up and puts a stop to that, it'd be very impressive.
But is Brown good?
No.
I don't know. I would love for them to finish second place in the Ivy League, though. It'd be very poetic. Brown at number 2. Honda McCord and the Syracuse Orange head down to UNLV at UNLV.
And that's why we're going with UNLV, because I 100% would be going with Syracuse if this was in New York.
But this is at Allegiant, which is awesome. Love to see that. Power 4 teams heading down to some Mountain West action.
And this is a crazy one, too, because this is all the way across the country. It's not like this is a regional opponent that they're going to. This is a haul.
That UNLV offense is just too electric for me right now to come off of. And they're not in the dome.
Well, they're in a dome.
They're in a dome, but they're not in the dome.
I want to see if Hodge Malik Williams can outduel Kyle McCord just straight up. It'd be awesome. And I think he can.
It would help you exercise some demons, too.
Yes. Make me feel good about myself. SMU at Louisville. I don't trust SMU on the road this year. That's my whole stance here. And I think Louisville's going to clean up a couple of those mistakes, at least, that they had last week in the first half against Notre Dame.
You think or you hope?
We're going with think.
All right.
I'm going to put the think on that one and not the hope. So I'm picking Louisville in this matchup against SMU. It's in Louisville at noon. But y'all are both going with the Mustangs.
It's kind of what I just said for UNLV too. That offense is still clicking. It seems to never miss a beat. There's no reason for me to see them slow down here outside of maybe they're going on the road. So maybe they take a small step back, but I still think they have enough to beat Louisville.
They were on the road this past week to FSU, correct? Was it at home? I don't even fucking remember.
It was a home game for SMU.
They picked them apart one way or another. And as we already said, we're not really sure where Notre Dame falls, just that Louisville has not looked good. And I don't suspect that they're going to get it figured out against a very hot SMU team.
I mean, Louisville has looked really good against everybody who isn't Notre Dame. Like that Georgia Tech game was actually really solid. 31-19 for Louisville against a Georgia Tech team that has looked pretty decent.
I know we're not talking about it. How much would it flip the ACC on its head if SMU pulled it off and won the ACC this year as the only member not making revenue?
Everybody'd be fine with it, probably.
Probably
made a bunch of money for everybody else. Nice.
Yep. I mean, actually, it would really benefit the teams at the bottom of the ACC who had no shot at reaching the title game, because that would mean all that title game money gets distributed to everybody instead of going to SMU.
It's fair.
They'd all be very happy with that. All that playoff money coming down to North Carolina after the start they've had, they'd be very happy with SMU winning the league.
Copy. ACC's rooting for SMU.
Missouri at Texas A&M, one of the ranked versus ranked matchups of the week. We're all going with the Aggies here, which actually scares me now.
That is insane that we're all taking Texas A&M.
This scares me.
I'm more surprised.
I would have put Texas A&M first.
That doesn't mean it doesn't scare me.
You're normally the one to be like, oh, no, we can't all take this team.
Screw y'all. If I'm going down, y'all coming with me.
I mean, that's fine with me. I wasn't picking Missouri in a game they could realistically lose.
It's at Kyle Field, which makes me feel a little bit better about it. Also, Texas A&M is favored by 2 points. If that means something to somebody. Doesn't to me.
That's the 2 point home field advantage right there.
Very much so.
It's the 12th man on offense and the 12th man on defense.
Wow. You're really putting your faith in
Kyle Field.
I'm not. I'm putting my faith in Missouri not living up to their pipe. That's where my faith is.
It's valid.
Because as good as everybody thought Luther Burden was, he looks like at best the fourth best receiver in college football right now. And two of those in the top three are true freshmen, the other being sometimes a cornerback. So
Nice.
Next up, also an ACC battle, Boston College at Virginia. I'm going with Cavaliers. I just feel like Boston College hasn't had the juice like they did, and everybody's still riding high off that Florida State win. Michigan State pushed them hard. Western Kentucky probably should have won. No, Virginia is not phenomenal, but they sure looked pretty solid against Coastal Carolina. Maybe they started to figure some things out. I'm riding with the home team.
For me here, I'm looking at this. Again, this is an issue where historically I can't trust either team. But one thing Boston College has done this year that is why I'm picking them is they've shown a propensity to pull out the close victories. This should be a close game. I see Boston College pulling this one out. I know Boston College lost to Syracuse. Or no, that was Georgia Tech. Boston College lost to Mizzou. That's a tough one.
They should have won.
Boston College is piecing enough together to let me have a little bit of faith in them this year.
Yeah, even though Western Kentucky looked really good against them, Boston College has just been that hot this year that they deserve the benefit of the doubt in this one, especially against the Virginia team that's been struggling.
That Virginia team is 3-1, by the way, though. We'll see what happens. Pitt at North Carolina. Talk about a team that's struggling going up against a conference foe who is undefeated right now in Pitt. But this should be a pretty close game. These two teams are. We talked about how much North Carolina and Duke hate each other. For some reason, Pitt hates North Carolina about just as much, but North Carolina just doesn't care. So,
I think Pitt just hates everybody. That's just a Pittsburgh thing.
Probably.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Probably.
When you put it that way, it's hard to argue with.
I understand. But Pitt has a tendency to start very slow and then just come back on folks. North Carolina has a tendency to
not show up for a football game
faster than their opponent, but then slow down very quickly. So kind of the worst of both worlds. If you're North Carolina, we're all rocking with the Panthers.
Yep.
And no one that matters here on Twitch saying, yep, that's facts. Pittsburgh, it's just a Pittsburgh thing to hate everyone. So appreciate that. Come talk to us on Twitch or YouTube. Catch us live. We'll make sure to bring up your comment probably. Let's move on to the next game. It's part one of the Commanders-in-Chief trophy round robin tournament, if you will. Navy at Air Force. And I want Navy to win because of reasons, but I'm not going to pick against Air Force. If there's ever a game for them to figure it out, buckle down, put the clamps on, get the job done, it's going to be in these Commander-in-Chief's trophy matchups. And it's at home. So, maybe. Oh, and I'm in the Air Force. I'm not picking fucking Navy, tug.
Look, dude, you can hate on me all you want, but I got to go unbiased here. Troy Calhoun has not been good in these matchups his entire career, number one. Number two, the offense has shown nothing, period, dot. Like, there is no caveat to that. The offense is useless this year. If you want to see what it looks like as a diehard Air Force fan to absolutely lose faith in your team, it's a Navy logo upside down, picking Navy over Air Force.
Yeah, well, fuck you. The Blue Falcons coming in and replacing your picture, too. You fucking traitor.
Dude, that's fine. Absolutely feel free to use the Blue Falcon and drop a deuce on my picture. If Air Force wins this, I will be happy with that. But at this point, I can't.
If this game were in Laramie, I'd be picking Wyoming.
For no reason at all. The game's in Laramie.
And somehow Wyoming wins.
So I'm picking Blake Horvath and the midshipman. Speaking of Rhode Island schools, before when we did that,
There is
a while
nothing
ago,
interesting
like an hour
about this
ago,
game other than the fact that Brown will somehow stay undefeated.
which is incredible. That's like never happened before in Brown football history.
Bug, I gotta
Has it?
ask, what do you
I don't
see out
know.
of Bryant?
I refuse to believe that Brown is this good at football. That's what I see.
Even at this point, even if we don't think
care.
Brown is this good, Bryant is.
Brian is fucking bad, but so is fucking Brown, and somehow they're winning games. It's got to stop. They can't keep doing this. They can't keep getting away with this.
As much as we talk, Brown did go 5-5 last year. Like, it doesn't feel like it, but even then, like 2 years ago, they took Bryant to double overtime. Last year, the game against Bryant was a 4-point game. Like, this should be a close game. Home field doesn't matter because these schools are inside of each other because Rhode Island is so small. The
And neither of
campuses
them
are
have
literally
fans.
other dimensional.
Nobody in Rhode Island is a fan of either of these football teams.
I'm pretty sure all their buildings, one floor is Bryant and the next floor is Brown classes. So, like, they all know each other.
No, Brown has to be on the first floor. They didn't make Emma Watson climb upstairs.
I'm not even going to touch that one. We're just going to move on.
Staying in the FCS for a little bit here. Delaware at Monmouth. Delaware is off to a solid start, as they usually like to do. The Blue Hens looking very solid. Monmouth, though, pretty hot start for them, too. I just feel like riding with Monmouth here. They are the home team in this matchup. And the CAA always provides somewhat of a challenge for Delaware eventually. Seems like the last time they've been able to walk through unscathed was long enough ago that I don't trust it. I'm going with them to get upset at some point, and why not start with Monmouth?
I can see them getting upset, especially in their last year at the FCS level. I don't think Monmouth's going to be the team to do it.
Fair enough. Understandable. Moorhead at Butler. This is not as much of a picking a good game for us. This is more of a holy smokes, Butler's undefeated and looking really solid. Let's pay attention to Butler for a little bit here because there's a legitimate possibility that the Butler Bulldogs are in very strong competition for that Pioneer League title. It very well may come down to Butler and Drake, and I really want to see that game when it does happen, which is next week. In the meantime, though, we have to watch them play Moorhead.
We watched Drake last week, so it's only fair that we get a read ahead, if you will, on Butler. So fair pick. Still going with Butler.
Why
to see.
On God's green earth do we have a sickos game here? Wagner at Stonehill.
So
because you love the sickos committee?
There's a very big part of this. There's a very big part of this is like we haven't really picked an NEC matchup like all season yet.
There's a reason for that.
I'd like for us to at least keep tabs on the Northeast Conference.
We did. We just picked a Bryant game.
Bryant is in the CAA now.
I thought they went. That's a bad decision for them. They should have gone to the NEC.
Yes, it is. They were in the Big South. So.
I knew that. I knew that.
Here's the thing, though. Stonehill, as bad as they have looked against Stony Brook and against New Hampshire, Stonehill is undefeated in NEC so far. And it'd be really funny to me if the team with this whack-ass logo, don't know how to crop their logo, comes up from D2, is still ineligible for anything, and wins the NEC because the NEC sucks. So I'm rooting hard for the Skyhawks this season over the Seahawks of Wagner.
Yeah, Wagner's fucking horrible. And that's really all we need to talk about with this one.
They did beat Delaware State, who is also very bad.
I could beat Delaware State by myself.
Not disputing. We're picking the two other Rhode Island schools. Why not pick Rhode Island themselves as well? Playing a conference game against Hampton. Again, wanted to keep track of Hampton because they started the season very well. William and Mary, maybe just on a different level. It's very possible Rhode Island and Hampton are more on the same tier with each other. This game is in Hampton as well. We're all picking the Rams, though, riding with Rhode Island's decent start to the season instead of Hampton.
Well, and I think pretty much everything you said. That William and Mary game should shake anybody's confidence in Hampton right now.
Doug, if you actually get a chance to watch this game, I owe you a jersey number, but I need you to watch a linebacker from my high school that's playing for URI. I don't even know if he's starting this year, but
that would make it very difficult to watch him.
He did get the sack at the end of the game against Holy Cross, so there's something to be said there. He's getting time.
He went that long without a sack. That is more impressive.
It's wild.
The next game up here, Wofford at Western Carolina. I understand the reticence around picking the Catamounts. Didn't look great against Campbell, but their other losses are to NC State, which was a close game, and at Montana. I can't really fault them for that. I feel like you guys are picking Wofford more for Wofford's hot start.
Nope.
But I'm rocking with the home team and Western Carolina getting some things right. They did beat Elon already. It's not like Western Carolina fell off the map that hard.
I am more curious if this game still happens or not, with Hurricane Helene coming in, fucking up all the North Carolina, where Western Carolina is. Western Carolina, I think, finally went back to school today. Maybe it was yesterday. Maybe it's tomorrow, Thursday. We're recording on Wednesday here. So I'm not sure what that's going to be like. They've already canceled Parents Weekend this week, so it's going to be close to a COVID crowd. I honestly would be a little surprised if Wofford's going to be able to get in. But let's assume this game happens. Nothing has been normal for the Western Carolina athletes the past couple of weeks. Honestly, if I was them, I would have moved to at least postpone this game anyway, if not look for a neutral site matchup somewhere. It's just too much off stuff that's way outside of their control, and that's more of why I'm going with Wofford. They've had a great start, too. I think you take all this stuff out and just look at just the football game, both teams giving their best. I think I probably would still lean Wofford, but with everything going on outside that's not football related right now, it's really tough for me to take Western Carolina this week.
That makes a lot of sense, actually. I'm not changing it, though. Catamounts till I die. South Carolina State at Tennessee Tech. The next one here. I don't think I've ever picked Tennessee Tech to win a football game. So I'm trying it this week. For me,
typically.
I know, which makes me want to win one. That'd be very cool.
I will graciously share with you this week.
I'm not changing my tradition of never taking Tennessee Tech.
I understand. I don't think that's a bad move at all.
Although
South Carolina State's got a pretty sweet fucking logo. I'm not going to lie.
They do. They really do. And they beat the crap out of North Carolina A&T last week. So who knows what'll happen. At the same time, Tennessee Tech's on a little bit of a win streak, beating their biggest rival, Tennessee State, and turn around and whooping Gardner-Webb. Talk about a fall off. I know I've said it a couple of weeks in a row now, but Gardner-Webb just, man, what a difference in that program compared to last year. Their head coach left for East Tennessee State, and ETSU got all the juice along with it that Gardner-Webb lost. Wild to see.
It happens.
Literally. Did happen. Yeah. Weber State at Montana. Weber State is still ranked here. They almost pulled off the comeback against McNeese, but they're still getting a little bit of love. And, hey, decent squad. Montana is going to be hard to pick against, though, at Montana.
Yeah, decent squad, but they're still, again, not at the same level. There's always a path, but I don't see Weber State pulling it off this week.
Yeah, Montana's not looked great this year, but Weber State has also not looked great, and their ceiling was already lower. So,
yeah, Montana is not Montana State this year, but they still have that incredible running back, Eli Gilman. So, one offensive player in the FCS can do a lot for you. We're all rocking with the Grizzlies. Florida A&M at Alabama State this week. Alabama State has looked pretty darn solid. And Florida A&M really has not been competitive. I thought they would be with Troy. They were not at all. They beat South Carolina State only by 4. They beat Norfolk by 1. This is not what I expected out of the Rattlers so far this season. It's at Alabama State. I'm pulling for the Hornets in this one.
They might not look the same. I don't see enough to come off the Rattlers just yet, so I'm gonna hang with Florida A&M here.
Alabama State's got a very nice stadium down there in Montgomery. It's right off the highway. If you ever get a chance to go down that way, I would love to end up back down there and catch a couple games there because it looks like it's a fun time. So for that reason alone, I'm going with Alabama State.
You know what? At some level, that just makes sense.
God, I love
Ole
college
Miss,
football.
Ole Miss at South Carolina. To me, this is a little bit more of a, hey, can Ole Miss rebound after that insane loss to Kentucky? And is South Carolina that much better than Kentucky like they showed when they played Kentucky? Maybe South Carolina beats the crap out of Ole Miss. Who knows at this point? I don't trust South Carolina. I don't trust Ole Miss. I'm betting on a get right game for this offense. I feel like that's all I can really come up with.
Ole Miss was averaging 600 yards per game going into last week. I'm willing to give them a one-off here. They seem, for some reason, oddly enough, to play better on the road. I'm okay with that. I'm going to take Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss on the road.
South Carolina should not have lost.
Ole Miss. Like, it's that simple.
There's 3 reasons. You named one of them. The second reason is South Carolina should not have fucking lost to LSU. I'm still fucking pissed about that game. And the third reason, go Cox. Do I need to say more? Thank you.
Understood. App State at Marshall up next. Should be a very solid game in the Sun Belt. App State coming off of a bye unexpectedly now. Probably has a lot better shot than we're giving them credit for. They're going to come out hot for sure. But we're all rocking with a Thunder and Herd in this matchup.
I actually checked this game before I picked it to make sure it was not on. I wanted to make sure it was not on the CW. Like, I actually caught myself see Marshall and went, CW, no, okay. And App State has not been doing App State things this year, so naturally that now means that App State will do App State things.
Most likely.
Probably.
That's what I'm gathering from this, all of us picking Marshall. Miami of Ohio at Toledo. I am picking Miami for no good reason. So you're with me for no good reason.
Yep.
Toledo should win this game. Like, I'm picking what
all
felt like a vibe.
All conventional wisdom says go with Toledo. But then you realize it's a MAC. Then you realize it's a MAC game. So you go with unconventional wisdom, which is Miami, Ohio.
But it's not midweek action.
It's not with midweek action.
That's
I
fair.
also think it's a little unconventional wisdom right now to think that Toledo can finish a fucking game, which is what I'm hoping they'll finally be able to do this week.
True, but Miami did have to go to overtime to beat UMass. So
UMass?
They did beat UMass, though. They did do it.
Right. It took them a long time. It took them extra time on the clock. It shouldn't take
there's
anyone more
there's
time.
no
than
extra
60
time on.
minutes
They
to
put
beat
no
UMass.
additional time on that clock.
Okay. You ruined it. It was fun, and now it's not fun. Podcast is over. Wow, what a great podcast. All right, see you folks.
Boo.
All right, Villanova at Stony Brook this weekend. Both of them off to a 4-1 start. Now, I have hated on Villanova in the past. I picked against them already one time this year. It ended up being a very close game. 1 point win over Towson. They didn't look phenomenal against Long Island last week. It's at Stony Brook. I don't love this matchup for the Wildcats. I am picking Villanova because I feel like they'll find a way to win. Maybe the Sea Wolves are worth paying attention to going forward, though. I'm not sure. I'm pretty excited for this matchup.
I get what you're saying. Villanova looked down, but when it comes down to it, Nova still has the history. They still have a solid team, typically year in and year out. I'm going to go with Nova here.
I'm just going with Nova. It's that easy.
All right. Another slide that scares the crap out of me. Chattanooga at ETSU. We're all rocking with the Buccaneers to start us off on this slide.
Chat's fucking bad. And ETSU's hate week material, that alone has pulled me over to their side.
They really do not like Chattanooga.
All their homies hate Chattanooga.
North Dakota at North Dakota State. One of the biggest matchups in Missouri Valley this season, it feels like already. It's at North Dakota State. Was my logic here.
When picking between the Dakotas, take the one with the state.
When depicting the Dakotas?
When depicting Dakotas.
Pick the state.
Pick the state. Oh.
And then Rutgers at Nebraska. Rutgers coming to this one undefeated, but we are all picking the Huskers.
Yeah, I see you've corrected your ways and don't exactly trust Greg Schiano as much as you want to.
See, if this were at Rutgers,
I knew that was going to be the caveat.
At shit stadium?
Yes.
I honestly still thought about taking Rutgers, but I
thought
don't,
about it.
Yeah,
briefly.
I just don't see Nebraska dropping 2 big home games. I really don't.
Yeah.
I think Illinois is better than anybody thought they would be, myself included. I don't think I can say the same thing for Rutgers. Nebraska should get it done at home. This is not the Nebraska that we're used to.
Apparently, it's not the Rutgers we're used to either.
You're hating on Rutgers too.
I'm not hating. I'm picking Nebraska fair and square. You're over there hating on Rutgers in your answer.
I mean,
Slander.
I am hating on Rutgers because they suck. They're frauds.
Doug, you can't call us hate. Doug, you can't call us haters on Rutgers when you routinely call them the Piscataway YMCA.
I used to.
I don't think I've ever heard Doug say that.
Oh,
I did like 2 years ago.
It used to be all the time.
Yeah, and then I changed my ways when they hired Greg Schiano again, and they started winning. So,
and I enjoyed it and found it funny, so I started using it too. I am not clever.
We know.
West Virginia is at Oklahoma State this weekend. Feels like a great opportunity to get right for Oklahoma State, but West Virginia likes to do things out here this season in the Big 12.
I hate you for putting this game on our slate because I can't pick for either of these teams. So I thought, who do I think should win this game? And then went the opposite.
That guarantees Oklahoma State's going to win this game.
Is this finally going to be the course correction they need? Like, realistically, 2 losses. They're not out of it in the Big 12, right? Like, it's the Big 12.
Right.
It depends when you flip the coin. If you flip the coin and they come up this week, then yes, they're losing.
Central Arkansas at Abilene Christian, a top 25 matchup in the United Athletic Conference. Abilene Christian still riding high a little bit off that 1-point overtime loss to Texas Tech. Feels like a huge moral victory for them. But hey, Central Arkansas looks pretty darn good in their own right. The only reason I'm picking Abilene Christian here is because it's at Abilene Christian. Once UCA loses the inherent home field advantage of the disgusting field that makes other teams involuntarily
Beautiful
puke
field.
and contract seizures mid-play because of how ugly the field is, they probably won't be as good. That's my bet. I'm sticking to it.
UCA this year has looked very good. Their most famous alumni is the coach of one by FSU, who has looked very bad after looking very good last year. So I'm saying UCA stole all of Mike Norvell's talent and power and has converted it into being a very good football team this season. And that's why I'm going with the Bears.
I just like what the Bears have been putting on the field. There's really no reason for me to go against them here.
Just say you love their turf. Just do it. Just say it. I just want to hear it one time.
Just admit
No,
it.
Just
I don't.
One time.
I don't.
I can take it.
It's disgusting and needs to never be on a field. I actually kind of hate artificially colored artificial turf.
Sweetness of your voice.
That's enough of that. Western Illinois at Charleston Southern this weekend. Only reason we are picking this game is because last week Western Illinois did what a lot of people thought to be impossible.
They won.
They won a game.
Don't call it a
Let's
streak.
go.
We're going for 2. Don't call it a streak. We're going for 2.
They knocked off Division II McKendree to break a 27-game losing streak dating back to October 30 of 2021. Since that time, Western Illinois has abandoned the Missouri Valley Football Conference.
For good.
This is the first year that they're in the Big South OVC.
Much more than talent level.
They're hoping. They are hoping. And
if not, the NEC is knocking.
Their first conference challenge is against Charleston Southern, who is already 0-1 in conference and 1-3 overall.
Also having only beat a Division II opponent.
That is incorrect. They beat Furman.
Oh. Nobody knows what Furman's showing up week to week either.
Exactly. So this is another very sickos matchup, but I am kind of rooting for Western Illinois to get it together. But I am picking the Buccaneers.
Yeah, I'm also picking the Buccaneers because Eastern Illinois is fucking terrible.
So bad you even used the wrong direction.
The wrong direction.
That's
incredible. I mean, they're both fucking awful. Western Illinois is fucking terrible too, though.
With no cause. Ben just went and shat on another Illinois team because he could.
Eastern Illinois is catching strays right now. That's how pissed off I am right now.
Northern Illinois sucks. I'm picking Charleston Southern to beat Western Illinois.
Oh, this is a dangerous slide.
Oh, yeah.
This is a great slide.
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
Northern Arizona, the team who just upset Sac State, is heading to Idaho this weekend. Now, Northern Arizona loses their home field advantage in a potential upset bid. But Idaho is also coming off of a loss to UC Davis. Will the emotions of pulling off the upset carry NAU, or will the bounce back be real for the Vandals? We're all rocking with Idaho.
Bro, when you say bounce back, the only thing I can think of is the bounce back of the sound off that gymnasium wall that Idaho uses as a home field.
Yes.
It is pretty great.
That's there is no room. If you have never seen this, there is no room between that field goal post and the wall. Like, that ball comes back and your kicker better watch out because it might hit.
Wasn't it just painted on the wall at one point, or am I dreaming?
I think you're dreaming. That'd be too funny.
That would have required them to push the walls back and update the state. I mean, you could probably squeeze another seat in, so maybe. No, this is a get-right game for Idaho. The fans are going to be rocking. They might shake the building off its concrete, but, it is what it is.
They have concrete out there in Idaho? Crazy.
They have people in Idaho?
South Dakota State at Northern Iowa will be a pretty similar atmosphere. I know you've talked about several times. This is probably the hardest place to play in the FCS. That beer can out in the field.
Beer can.
But the Jackrabbits are coming through. We're all picking the reigning, defending national champions. Because, of course, we are.
Why would we not? This is a challenging game for South Dakota State.
Get your directions
to Northern
right.
Iowa. I'm tired of these directional schools. We're doing too fucking many of them back to back to back.
I'm getting you a compass for Christmas now, so you can figure out your directions.
That's fine.
and a geography map.
A geography map?
Yep.
Yeah, I thought that.
And you're making fun of me? South Dakota State's winning this game.
One of them good old geography maps.
You're from the Northeast. Why are you talking like you're from the South?
Unintentional.
I thought you got that private school Rhode Island education, not that
I
Mississippi
did.
education.
Oh, geez. Alabama A&M is at Jackson State this weekend. Wanted to pick this one partially because Alabama A&M looks pretty decent so far this season, and it would be awesome to see somebody knock off Jackson State eventually. But we're all picking Jackson State.
It does not look like it's Alabama A&M. Moving on.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
I mean, Jackson State lost at Grambling 2 weeks ago. They are fallible this season. They
were last year too.
Yeah. I mean, the SWAC is still feels pretty open.
Yeah.
Colorado State at Oregon State on the CW this weekend.
I almost took Colorado State because of that. I'm not going to lie.
But then you remembered it is Colorado State. And we're rocking with the Beavers.
Yeah.
They're fucking ass.
And then South Alabama at Arkansas State. Hey, Bug, it's your best friends.
Yeah, the champions of life are going to win this one.
No, they're not. They're very bad.
It's your best friends versus your favorite head coach of all time. What a great game to make Bug make a pick for.
I hate you so much.
The only thing that will make this better is if Arkansas State, for no reason, turns around and pulls this off, and then Bug has to see it again.
So anyway, JMU scores a fuck ton of points. And ULM doesn't. So we, of course, are picking the JMU versus ULM game. We all went with the Dukes.
The Dukes.
Yeah, but General Booty is about to be starting a game on national TV. This game's going to be on ESPNU.
Yeah,
he
is going to have JMU up his General Booty. Like,
Illinois State at Southern Illinois is this weekend. Another in-state rivalry for the Salukis to falter in.
At this point, I'm kind of punishing the Salukis. They've had 2 bad games. I don't know if they get right. Illinois State, I can see a path for them, so we're going to go with Illinois State here.
Yeah, but let's not act like Illinois State's a good football team either. Like, let's pump the brakes on that.
I'm not saying that they are.
If there is a chance for SIU to kind of get it together, this is probably the last mark that you can look at and say maybe they still have a chance to make something happen this season. If they don't, it's going to be full into this rebuild here and figure out where to go as the season progresses. Do you even want to bring back Williams to play quarterback when he's healthy? At what point does it matter?
Probably not against North Dakota State next week, tell you that much.
Probably not.
And then we got Nichols at Southern. The only legal stream of this game I could find any information about, it will be on the Jaguar Sports Network, which is Southern's athletic department's website. You can pay for a stream on Southern's website. So this is the Jaguar Sports Network. I haven't found any other way to watch this game, which meant we had to make a pick for this game. That is awesome in its own right. Just
Do I want to know
wild.
how much time you spend trying to find some of these obscure games and where to watch them? You can just say no and we can move on. That's fine.
The funny
You
part
did
about
ask.
it, the funny part about it is we're all going with Nichols.
Yeah, which feels like a really bad move, gotta say.
I think picking this game is a really bad move.
See, at the same time, though, their 3 losses are understandable. Like, they lost to Louisiana Tech and LSU. That's fine. They lost to
played
Sacramento
LSU
State
tight.
at Sacramento State. And then they beat Mississippi Valley State, which, of course, they did. It's Mississippi Valley State. But they beat them 66-0, which is more impressive than anything Southern has really done this year. So...
And like I said, that loss to LSU, Nichols actually played them close.
Right, and Louisiana Tech was a 1-score game.
Yeah.
So we are all picking the Colonels, and yeah, it is stupid, and yeah, it's impossible to watch, but why not?
Doug, you say it's impossible to watch, like you're not going to be the one dude in the nation streaming that game
Legally.
legally.
Actually, I think it'd be more funny if you went and tried to illegally stream this game.
Yeah, I should.
No, that's going to have a bunch of viruses with it. It's not worth it.
Just use a VPN.
I
that's
think
fine.
I should.
Actually,
I think I should pay for the pay-per-view and then put it up on our Twitch. See what happens.
Ooh.
Get a cease and desist from Southern.
That would be
fucking
more hilarious.
Fine. I will never stream your game again.
Right.
funny. Roger Wilco.
Honestly, I said that comment about the viruses for illegally streaming the game, but this might be the one safe game because why would anybody put viruses on an illegal stream nobody's going to watch anyway?
Exactly. The empty Reddit thread that was written by AI and somehow has a working link. All right. All right. The defending national champions are heading out west to the defending runners-up. That's a weird way to say that, I think. But I did. It's also a conference game now because Washington has joined the Big Ten. This is number 10 at an unranked opponent, and the unranked opponent is favored by 2.5 points, and we are all picking the Huskies. That is really weird to me.
Until you realize that Michigan's offense has been one of the most inconsistent offenses I have seen all year.
That is an incorrect statement, sir. It is very consistent in that it sucks fucking ass every week.
I was going to say, maybe you're not going to be a Michigan hater for 5 minutes, but there it is.
I will say this too, Doug.
What's not to hate?
You brought up a good point. Was it last week where, yeah, they squeaked out the win, but the only time their defense was effective was when they had their 2 best defenders on the field. This is the type of game where that will not suffice. And I highly doubt the Washington kicker. I'm not even going to finish this statement because sports analysis jinxes are real.
So here's the other concern for me with the Wolverines, and this is, again, a legitimate talking point and not just straight up hatred. Statistically, there are 134 teams in the FBS. They rank 130th in passing yards per game, which the only thing incredible about that stat is that they're not 134th.
Air Force says that unlocked. Don't worry.
I understand. But seeing Alex Orji play, you will be shocked they're not 134th. Even with that, they are outside the top 30 in rushing yards per game. They have no great way to move the ball. They are reliant on this defense, time of possession, field position game that just will not work against a team who can legitimately push the agenda. And I don't believe that to be the Washington Huskies. I'm not saying that Washington is that great of its squad. I'm saying that Minnesota almost figured out how to do that against them. I'm saying that USC let themselves get beat in that first half. And as soon as they started playing their own game, that one started to feel pretty different too. This was a 10-point win against Arkansas State. This was a close game with Fresno State deep into the fourth quarter. This is not a good offense for the Wolverines. And if you don't have a second level to that defense and you only have a first string for that defensive line that you can rely on, that's not a recipe to win games when you're on the road traveling 2,000 miles. You're in a conference atmosphere. You're playing a team that knows you very well. Not something we would normally say for Washington, right? Because they've this first year in the conference, not a team they play every year. They just saw each other in the national championship, and they both got worse. But I think, and I don't know that anyone would really argue, the Wolverines took the bigger hit. Like, this is not a recipe for success up there.
So
Doug,
in Ann Arbor.
Ooh, Doug, I gotta. Oh, that's why. Okay, so they are 130th because there's a tie for 116th. I want to highlight the teams that are ranked below Michigan. And I'm going to highlight the two teams that are ranked above Michigan in passing offense. At the bottom of the league, you have Air Force with 265 total passing yards, 3 picks
on the season.
On the season, that is
not per game.
Yeah.
That's
that's on the season.
On the season.
Yes. Army West Point 293 yards is second last.
Nice.
Then you have deep. Then you have ULM, who has 408 total yards. New Mexico State comes in at 131 with 542 yards. Then you got Michigan with 577 yards. Here's the key stat with that: 7 interceptions.
Oh yeah. And Alex Orji has started the last 2 games at quarterback. Davis Warren is still the leader in passing yards. And every passing stat.
What I do want to highlight, though, is the team that is in 128th, so two spots ahead of them, is none other than an offense that we say looks like garbage in Wyoming with 707 yards.
Yeah. Love that they're more than triple Air Force.
I hate you.
And I don't like that we're all picking the Huskies here. That feels like
here's
the best decision.
Here's a couple other things. Now, I don't know exactly where you guys are getting your stats from because I actually have Michigan at 129 with Iowa being behind them, looking at yards per game, some sort of passing yards per game, some sort of average they've got here.
Yards per game. I'm getting mine off the NCAA website. Yards per game, Michigan's at 115 and Iowa's at 147.
Yeah, this is showing Iowa.
We're all over the place.
Either way, it doesn't matter. Washington is all the way up at like 17. Like they're in the top 20 in this stat here. And not to mention, this is Michigan's first road game, and they very nearly lost their last 2 home games against teams that are much worse. I do think that's going to have a bigger impact and something we just haven't talked about yet at all either. It is weird taking Washington, the unranked team, but I think Michigan is just highly overrated at this point, and they should not have gotten away with the wins that they got and not falling in the rankings.
Very much agree. I'm very excited to see them lose. Please win this game, Washington. I beg you.
Speaking of the 2 teams they very nearly lost to in Ann Arbor,
Yeah. USC at Minnesota this weekend. I have a weird logic for picking Minnesota, but it might make sense once I say it. Minnesota lost against a team up north because of a controversial call on the onside kick. I'm taking that and extrapolating it to say let's say they should have won that game. USC lost, felt pretty fair and square. So let's say that Minnesota is slightly better than USC. If it were this game were played in Ann Arbor.
And it's played in Minnesota, so it's going to be
played in
similar
Minnesota.
climate.
Yep.
I actually like that
rocking with
logic.
Golden Gophers. Why not?
And I kind of hate that that I didn't think of that because I'm going with USC because I think on the whole they're the better of the two teams. Some will ride with the Trojans here.
Yeah, they definitely are.
That's where I'm at. And Doug, I want to thank you for showing me the way to my one game catch up.
You're welcome. Another matchup I cannot believe we're all picking the same team here. UCF at Florida. This might be
you gave me a legitimate game where I don't have to pick UCF too. Come on.
I understand you taking Florida. Doug just didn't want to feel left out, I guess.
No, I think UCF is going to be reeling from the beatdown they took last week. I think this game's going to be much closer. But then again, this one is at the Swamp. I'm going to take Florida at home.
Well, and I think TCU really showed us who UCF was, and then Colorado exploited it. Florida is going to completely dissect it.
I doubt that.
How much do we trust Billy Napier? They should.
We don't.
I trust them in the Swamp against a reeling UCF.
This is probably going to be like a 27-24 type of game.
Yeah, fuck you. Don't be right about that.
Neither team's going to look that great.
That's
17
team going to look like Monday Night Football.
This will be a 63-0 Florida Gators win.
Thank you.
UCF will shut down their program.
Oh, please, God.
Next up here, Duke at Georgia Tech. Two kind of upstart squads in the ACC to start the season. Duke undefeated, by the way. But Tug and I are rocking with Georgia Tech at home. What are you seeing, bud?
Georgia Tech in America has not looked as impressive as they did in Ireland. And I don't just say that because...
We should move Georgia Tech to Ireland.
I don't just say that because Georgia Tech beat the dog shit out of FSU and really exposed them. I say that because in reality, that's the only game where they've really had a full game put together and dominated start to finish.
They whooped Virginia Military Institute.
Okay. See, so that's the only game against a real opponent where they put a full game together and look dominant start to finish. So Duke, yes, I understand why maybe you don't want to hop on the Duke train this week after what they did against UNC or what UNC did to them, even though they won.
Or what Duke did with Connecticut. That was 26-21.
I mean, fair. However,
double overtime at Northwestern.
Stop sleeping on the New England teams, except UMass. You can continue to sleep on UMass.
We're riding with Duke. We're riding with the Blue
Devils. And Bryant.
Yeah, Bryant. They were in the Big South last year. They don't count as a New England team anymore.
Here's the other stat, though, for you. Georgia Tech is undefeated at home. Their two losses are by a field goal at the Carrier Dome. And then at Louisville, we talked about that game a little bit already. But they had a bye week now in between that game and this game at home again, where, yes, they are undefeated currently. And playing a Blue Devils team that has just been sneaking by. The only real win they've put together is against Middle Tennessee State, which, come on.
That's crazy calling it a real win.
I hate to say this because it comes up quite often, but this is a game that if you flipped home field, I probably would have gone with Duke. But with it at Georgia Tech coming off the bye, I'm going to take Tech.
And also, Dookie is another word for poop. I'm not picking the poop squad.
All right.
Kansas at Arizona State. Kansas has fallen apart so far this season.
They lead
Almost
the
like their
nation
stadium
in
is.
INTs with 10.
Brutal. Absolutely brutal. They would not be leading the FBS and INTs with interceptions if Davis Warren were still the quarterback for Michigan. But unfortunately, he got benched.
I don't even like taking ASU because I don't trust them as far as I can fucking throw them. But Kansas is fucking bad.
Dude, if you could pick up a Sun Devil, I'd give you credit for even throwing him half an inch. Like,
Fork 'em.
Fair enough.
no, Arizona
going
State is slightly more consistent right now. I'm gonna take Arizona State.
We're all rocking with the old school logo of the actual devil on fire. Love it. Love to see it. Hawaii at San Diego State. I'm rocking with the Rainbow Warriors. I don't feel like San Diego's been all that impressive. San Diego State, rather, has been all that impressive this season.
Well, neither of them really have.
And I agree with you,
Fair.
Doug. It's kind of a why not, because what reason has SDSU really given me to take them either?
So, and that's kind of the way I looked at this. I looked at both of their matchups, and neither are particularly impressive in any way. I was the last one to make picks this week, so I decided just to be a little bit different. Give myself a chance here. This should be a close game. I think they're both fairly evenly matched. Both teams are just kind of meh right now with no real games to kind of grade them off of. This is probably the first real measuring stick that we can use for these teams.
The next matchup here, Tarleton State at Southern Utah. Feels like a matchup of two teams who play it as close as anybody in the country. Tarleton State had to come back in a wild game this past weekend. 36-33 win over Southeastern Louisiana. Felt like it was Louisiana's all the way until the Lions finally gave it up. Most impressive win, I guess, for Tarleton State has been against Houston Christian, who has looked decent in other spots. But, man, they let McNeese back. They let UNA score points on them, which shouldn't happen. Southern Utah, on the other hand, they went out and beat UTEP in overtime, which an FBS win. I know it's UTEP, and we've been clowning UTEP. Hey, UTEP's offense is better than Air Force's. At least give them that.
It's not saying much.
Better than Wyoming and Kennesaw State. They only lost by a field goal to a UC Davis team that just beat Idaho. So why not? I'm rocking with the Thunderbirds, another team I don't feel like I've ever actually picked to win a game on this podcast before. So let's rock with Southern Utah.
I just like Tarleton State more, even though I do think Southern Utah has the cooler logo.
Facts.
Fair.
Undeniable facts. One Big Sky game for us, Idaho State at Cal Poly. Two teams on the Big Sky we don't really get to talk about all that often, so I wanted to have us pick this matchup here. We're all rocking with the Bengals on the road.
Which is somewhat insane, but also Idaho State has a really cool tiger logo.
And Cal Poly's logo is CP, which I'm never associating with my head.
And Idaho State has low-key been building a program for a few years now. They're getting better.
Yeah.
I'm okay with this one.
Idaho State, one of the teams that has beaten Southern Utah this season that I just picked to win against Tarleton State. Before we get to the big game day game, though, the last game that we were going to pick this week is Texas Tech at Arizona. Another one of those wild Big 12 matchups that nobody knows what to do with exactly. I'm rocking with the Wildcats mostly because it is at home, and Texas Tech appears to matter for the Red Raiders. I don't know how they will do on the road here.
Yeah, they've been a surprise. the fact that they've been successful at home has been a surprise because they seem like a completely different team on the road. But I think they finally get that road win. Let's go. Wreck them.
Arizona's just a fun team this year. They're kind of all over the place, but they're starting to kind of piece some things together. They look good. They look better week to week. I'm going to go with the Wildcats here.
You can say they look better week to week, but when we're starting off with a 31-0 loss, a 31-7 loss to Kansas State, looking better the next week's not that hard to do. So.
No, but they did beat Utah.
Well, especially since their week 2 matchup was against New Mexico. So, like, man, I hope so.
But they beat Utah. We're riding high right now.
The big game day matchup. The first time these schools will meet as conference foes. The Miami Hurricanes are heading out west, all the way out west, to the University of California Berkeley Bears, a.k.a. Cokeheads versus Communists, a.k.a. Coke versus Woke.
Oh, my God. Oh, no.
If you've been on Twitter, you know Cal's Twitter game is surprisingly strong for as small of a fan base as they have. They come out with the memes like nobody's business. And oh my gosh, everybody wants to see them take down Miami because of how hilarious it would be. At the same time, we are all siding with the mountains of cocaine.
Yeah. Other than my moral and personal rules that do not allow me to pick communists ever, Miami's just a much better team, and I actually do believe in Cam Ward.
I mean, I would love to believe in Cam Ward all the time. But what I've learned from being a Cam Ward fan for the last several years is that there are just sometimes he's going to throw a bunch of interceptions.
Like last week.
Now,
he did that last week.
He did that against Virginia Tech. Maybe he got out of his system. Maybe
for at
this
least
week
2
at
more
Cal,
weeks.
He's not going to do that. But I have a hard time believing he's not going to do that because he just likes to throw a bunch of interceptions sometimes. At the same time,
a few Hall of Fame quarterbacks that used to do that. One of them is Ben's favorite quarterback, Brett Favre.
The great.
I knew who you were talking about.
Yeah. After Cam Ward throws like 4 picks, he's going to make 17 consecutive Heisman moment plays and then throw 1 or 2 more interceptions. So it's all boom or bust every play with Cam Ward is essentially what I'm getting at. It's very fun, especially when he's at an FCS school. I wish he were still at Incarnate Word. That would be incredible. But he's not. He's at Miami, and there are expectations now, and it kills me. Because he's so fun. But how much can you really trust him?
But he is living up to those expectations to a degree.
To a degree.
More so than DJU.
Like 1,800 yards, 18 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. That's phenomenal. But those 4 interceptions sure didn't look good. That's where I'm at.
46 fucking games, ladies and gentlemen. We went through 46 games coming up this week, and I don't think we even picked all of them. I'm pretty sure Doug left a couple off, right?
Yeah. I left a couple off that I was really wanting to pick, too.
That sounds unreal. Like, that sounds unlikely at this point. 46 games. I was wrong on my count at the beginning of the show, but we made it to the end.
Doug, I just have one request.
Okay.
Outside of the Ohio State game, that time slot doesn't matter. I want to see a picture in the Discord, and everyone else listening should go into the Discord and see this picture that shows us your college football setup and how many games you're watching at any given time. Again, excluding the Ohio State game, because I know you're locked into that one.
I can't do that because that would require me using my phone to take a picture, which always has a game on
to watch football.
Even if I'm at a bar watching a game, I will have a different game on my phone.
This
That
is the
is not
man
being
that
displayed
had
on the
college
wall.
football up at my son's baptism in the church.
And he was not the one crying.
Correct.
Yes.
These are all facts.
I did watch college football during your son's baptism.
He at least
It
had
did
an
happen.
earpiece in.
He had an earpiece in. But hey,
I will go to football games and be watching a football game on my phone.
Hey, Tug, you want people to join the Discord, but I think they need the link for you to be able to get them to join the Discord. So why don't you read off some links for us?
Bro, you just recreated the link with a W and expect me to go capital U, and not W?
W. Kirk Cousins.
Are you going to read links? I mean,
Yeah,
I know you love being on these podcasts for like 3 or 4 hours.
Yeah, I know. I'm just waiting for it to scroll through, if I'm being honest with you. I read them as we go. I don't know them by heart.
Wow.
How do you not know them by heart at this point?
Wrestling.
Honestly, I probably could if I tried, but this is how I make sure I don't miss one. Ladies and gentlemen, we have our patreon.com/BTFootball, twitch.tv/bigdudesinthetrenches, all one word, x.com/BTFootball, facebook.com/BTFootball, instagram.com/BT_football, BDTfootball.com, mailbox at BDTfootball.com, youtube.com/@bigdudesinthetrenches, all one word. And then our Discord. Guys, I love you. I'm still not doing it. That will be linked in the description below.
There's also going to be a Winnie-the-Pooh fact in our description below, because for some reason we're getting downloads in China, and I want the people that are listening to us in China to have to answer to Xi Jinping about why they're looking up Winnie-the-Pooh facts. But hey, why don't they play music in Skeleton Church?
Wait.
We're waiting.
You'll get it. I know you do. They don't have organs.
Yeah. Yep. I got it right before you said it. And I was like, that's pretty good. I'm going to let him finish the punchline because that's solid. I actually really like that one. I have a joke of the day board at work. I'm going to put it up at work tomorrow.
Especially for
yes.
Halloween. Especially for Halloween.
Gotta have the spooky
great.
season dad
I
joke.
approve. That's the best joke that you've told on the podcast history.
I've had some pretty good ones.
He has.
You have. I'm hating a little bit, but anyway, thank you for listening, folks. If you've listened through all 2 hours, you don't win anything special. You just win more podcast.
Unless you come into our Discord and tell me that you copied it from the link that I verbally read out a different day, and then you get special things.
Yes. Go find one of those episodes.
I will give everybody a hint. I will not be on that episode.
There you go.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. That is all the time we have in the show today. Thank you for watching and or listening. And just remember, you can't win a game if you can't win in the trenches.